Hey everyone, welcome back to the garden. So the heat wave is over and we have quite a few things we want to get into the ground and actually in containers. So we have perennials that are going to go in the ground and shrubs that are actually going to go in containers, some of them anyway. We've been amassing plants. I swore I was not going to buy as many things this year, but you know, as a plant lover, that never works. So anyway, we have a bunch of things to get into containers and in the ground. And I will talk to you about each of these shrubs or perennials as we get to where we are going to plant them. So the first thing is going to be on the west side of our house. So let's go check out the location and talk a little bit about the plant. So if you remember in my last video, I said, well, I mentioned about the Rise Up Emberays rose and how gorgeous it was. I got the last one left at work, and you can see how much the similarity is with the Oh So Easy Hot Paprika. So we're going to put it in a container, and it's going to go right here. We lost a yarrow there. I'm not going to replace yarrow. They just don't seem to perform well here. Maybe it's too wet, except this one does fine. This is yellow. So I'm done trying yarrow, and not sure I want to put a rose there, so I'm going to test it in the container, see how we like it. Let's see if I can find the stats on this one. It's not a huge rose. It is. This is called the Rise Up Emberays, as I already said, and you can see the gorgeous color there. It's like a short climber is what it's described as, but the tag says 3 to 5 feet tall, 2 to 3 wide. So I know Matthew, the Southerners Northern Garden, grows this as a climber, and it does get quite vigorous, quite tall on the side of his house. So I'm not sure how something 3 to 5 feet tall can be considered a climber. So we'll just see how this works. It's kind of why I put it in a container. So it's hardy in zones 5 through 8, obviously needs full sun, upright, vertical, continuous bloomer. And rekindle your love for roses with Rise Up Emberays, Climbing Rose. Each bloom is a study in bright, fiery tones, and plants flower for months without deadheading or spraying. Grow as a climber or a shrub. So obviously, we're growing it as a shrub. It was, I have to say, it was an impulse buy. We got them in at the garden center, and I saw them when they came in, and they were not yet budded up. So I did not really even have any kind of inkling as to what this rose was going to look like, other than on the tag and seeing them on the Southerners Northern Garden. And I never really remember his being as intense as the ones were at the garden center. Somebody came in last Sunday, I think it was Sunday, and she was specifically looking for Proven Winners roses. These were the only ones we got. We typically do not get a ton of Proven Winner roses in at the garden center. And I showed her them, and at that time, 3 of them were in bloom, full bloom, and they really were very striking. And then another 2 were just budded up. And she brought 3 of them, and seeing them there kind of piqued my interest. It's kind of like you don't know what you want until you see it. So, you know, I kind of thought about it while I was at work, let it go. And then when I went back to work on Monday, there was only 1 left. So I don't know. I get to work at 12 on Monday. So somebody must have come in the morning and bought a 4th one. We only had 5. So I quickly grabbed the last one. And again, it's going in a container because I don't really want to grow another climber. And we're going to see how it reacts to being in the container. And it's a frost-free container, so if we have to overwinter it, it will be just fine. It'll be protected. We can move it someplace in even more protected location. It's not particularly protected over here on the west side of our house. So again, we'll just see how it goes. And if we have to find someplace in the landscape for it, I'm sure that won't be a problem. So we got the rose in the container, and as you're coming up the path here, I think it's a striking color once you get past the oh so easy hot paprika roses. This will provide color all summer once the coral blooming azaleas are done. Looks really good with the salvia nemorosa. Purple and orange are opposite on the color wheel, so they work really well together. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is get the Burgundy Glow Ajuga, which I have soaking in this garden trug. You needed some water, some of them. We're going to get them planted all through here, over past those rocks. I'm going to get them placed, and then we'll get them in the ground. I want them to form a little bit of a river, and you can see this one has started to bloom again. It's such a pretty bloomer. Show you, can you see that? Burgundy Glow Ajuga, sun to shade. Let's just say deer resistant. Thank goodness. They are 6 to 8 inches tall. Zones 3 through 10. This plant fills 1 square foot. My experience, it actually will fill a little bit more than a square foot. It'll probably be almost 2 feet based on the ones we've planted in other areas of the yard. All right, I don't think I got all of that in the clip, so that's where I placed the first one, and you can see the little blue pots. It's just kind of going to be a river through here. And the newer ones that I bought, you can see that pretty burgundy foliage. That's why they're called Burgundy Glow. The older ones have been in the garage for a while. I was trying to protect them from the heat we had this past week, so they're a little bit less burgundy, but that will correct itself in time. Yeah, I think that's going to help to suppress some of the weeds up here anyway. Yeah, I think Rob did a really nice job weaving these through here. Once they start to grow, it will form that river of beautiful Burgundy Glow Ajuga with its beautiful deep blue flowers. There's another one over there, and they go all the way up to there. This one's already quite large, but it will even get larger. In my experience, they do get quite large, much bigger than the 6 to 10 inches I think it said on the tag. So come on, weed suppression. I feel like we can do a bunch more. And just real quick, So that shrub back there, that was the Wonder Villa. That is where the Christmas jewel holly is now. This was on the other side of our top retaining wall. It never did well there. We moved it. The base was kind of like, I don't know if I want to say rotting, but a whole bunch of it in the back split off of itself at the base. So, I mean, I did cut some of it off too. You can see how funky that all looks. This one always looked like that. I don't know if it came with a disease or what, but we'll see how it does up here. If it doesn't do well, I mean, part of it's okay, but if I cut out all the bad, it's going to be a very small shrub. If this does not do well, I will just replace it with another 𝗟𝗶𝗸𝗲 hydrangea. That's what you see here. Because I would love seeing those big mop head flowers up here from the house in the summer. And one more thing about the 𝗟𝗶𝗸𝗲 back there. I don't expect, get out of that glare, that it's going to be very orange up here. This is the Kodiak orange 𝗟𝗶𝗸𝗲, because it does get quite a bit of shade or filtered sun up here. And in my experience, the Kodiak series of the 𝗟𝗶𝗸𝗲, such as the Kodiak orange, which we have, the Kodiak red, the Kodiak black, and the Kodiak fresh, in order for them to be orange, black, red, or the bright kind of chartreusey green of the fresh, they need to get quite a bit of sun. So I expect that this one, should it survive in time, it's probably going to be mostly green. I mean, it is getting some sun back there. Oof. But I honestly don't think that it's the 5-6 hours of sun a day it probably needs in order to be that really pretty orange. So we'll just see. All right, let's move on to what we're going to plant all the way down the other end. The last thing we're going to plant up here is this Paisley pup Leucothoe, which I feel will be some nice evergreen interest up here because we don't have any evergreen interest on this side. Now with the carexes and the sprinter boxwoods over there and the gray owl junipers, we have some evergreen interest. This will be evergreen. I feel like we might possibly have to protect it some here in the winter. We'll see. But it will be a nice pop of color because it is quite dark on this side of the bed. I feel like we could add maybe a couple more gray owl junipers over here too, like here and here. I don't want anything to impede on the hosta. That seducer hosta can get quite large, and so can the gray owl juniper. So we'll see. Maybe don't really want to use boxwoods because I feel like this is not a cultivated area and it's adjacent to a kind of wild area. Wow, look at that viburnum in bloom back there. Do you see that? Bright pop of white. Anyway, so, but they're so shade tolerant. I can't put strongbox up here or any kind of Ilex glabra because it's just not going to get enough sun. But I also don't want, I don't know. Maybe I just put a couple more Paisley pups. We'll see. Let's just get this one in. We can decide that later. So we do have some weed fabric up here. When we had the bed originally created, it was only over on this side. And so we got to break through the weed fabric. Is that a root?
Yeah.
I guess we're not planting there, so don't pull up that weed fabric.
I don't know how big it is. It might go.
There's a lot of roots up here as well, because right behind Rob is a giant, there's a green maple. You know how maples love to send out roots. So anytime we plant on this side, we have to cut holes in or take up the weed fabric. And I'm not a fan of weeds fabric, but I will say over on this side, we have fewer weeds than we do over where we just planted the Ajuga, which is why we planted the Ajuga. There is no weed fabric over there. So it does work. And this particular weed fabric does seem to allow more moisture through than some. and another root. Okay, well, Rob goes and gets the digging bar from my neighbor, which is the only way to plant on this property sometimes, which is why you rarely see me digging holes, particularly for shrubs. It's for that very reason. It's very, very rocky here and very, very full of roots. Let's go and take a look at the 𝗟𝗶𝗸𝗲 bed where the Fairtytrail Fresco and the Invincible Limetta landed. And I'm sorry I did not get this on film for you guys. I noticed a couple of our roses having some issues. I'm not 100% sure that it's rose rosette disease, but I was dealing with that when my husband was up here planting. So this is the Fairtytrail Fresco. I put it up on this little garden seat because it is a trailing hydrangea and it needs room to trail, but I'm not sure it's going to stay on there because it now blocks the one American pillar. But anyway, so this is the Fairtytrail Fresco. So this is the blue or pink, depending on your soil. Fairtytrail Fresco. So it'll be blue or pink, depending on your soil. Hardy in zones 5 through 9, 4 to 6 hours of sun a day, which it will get some shade here. 3 to 4.5 feet tall and wide. Fairtytrail Fresco hydrangea creates pink or blue flowers down the entire length of its cascading stems. This spring blooming hydrangea is the perfect way to extend hydrangea season. So that's why I put it in a container, because I do want it to trail. Don't want it to trail along the ground anywhere. And I raised it up on the seat, but again, not sure that's the perfect location for it, but for now it'll stay. Let's go take a look at the Invincible Limetta, which I feel like we might have room in here for this once we see how it does in the pot. So again, this is the Invincible Limetta. This is a smooth hydrangea, so it's always going to be lime green to start and then white. It is hardy in zones 3 through 8. Hardy in zones 3 through 8, 3 to 4 feet tall and wide, part shade, sun. It is a native hydrangea. Simply beautiful and so easy to grow. Invincible Limetta hydrangea is a compact Annabelle type with charming green flowers and sturdy stems, and it reblooms. So like I said, I had seen these on Gardening with Creekside in her woodland garden, and the foliage was so striking. It does look like it's a little chlorotic here, but once it gets in this potting soil for a few days, maybe a week or so, this is really good potting soil. Hopefully it starts to green up some. You can see some of the buds have started to bloom, and it does have new buds in varying stages of development. I think in time that will really outgrow that pot very quickly, probably. So like I said, we do have room for it here. I don't know if I want it right on top of the Steady Eddie Viburnum, though. So anyway, that's where they landed. So let's go see how progress is coming on the Paisley pup.
Fabric, just to help get, it is allowing water through, but I think at least this will be more, but I'm stuck between root here, root here.
Yeah.
Is that going to be able to survive there?
Well, this is where I bought it to go, so that's where it's going. So it either survives or it doesn't. Right. That's part of gardening, because no matter where we move it, there's going to be the same issue. Almost everything we've planted up here is between two roots. Most things, actually, I don't think we've lost anything up here. So
Wishbone. Let's get that other soil. I'll put some of that in. Looks. Let's see anything about the roots. Does that look? Here, I'm going to drop it again. Looks like it's okay.
Yeah, height-wise?
Yeah.
Yeah, looks fine. Don't forget, at times, this can be flooded up here. It hasn't happened in 3 years, but... Should I put some of this in? Since it's so dry.
Oh, that's dry. Very dry.
There's plenty of water in here. Yeah. Should I water it in now before you...
Yeah.
Since it's so dry? Here, you want to give me a shovel of that and I'll put it back in the back? I think that's a wild violet, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I wouldn't...
They're invasive too, somewhat.
No, wild violets are native. Yeah, let me put the last of this water in. Paisley pot planted. Like I said, I think it provides a nice pop of color here. And once the seducer hosta recovers from the deer damage, they will blend nicely together, I think. I think it was a little bit wilted. I didn't realize it was so dry. Again, this was in our garage. We were trying to protect it from the heat. I don't think I read you the stats on that one, so hang on for a sec. Again, it is called a Paisley pup, and it's evergreen. You can see the new foliage is pinky, purpley mauve, very similar to the rainbow Leucothoe. I think the rainbow is pink and mauve and more almost reddish bronze, at least the ones that I've seen. So this is hardy in zones 5 through 8, 3 to 4 feet tall, 4 to 5 feet wide, 4 to 6 hours of sun. Now it will get late day sun here because it will be coming kind of like from this direction. Let me fix that camera. So the sun sets over here. So in the afternoon, it'll get sun directly this way. Again, it's evergreen. It is native. Moist, acidic, well-drained soil. Well, it's definitely well-drained up here. Count on Paisley Pup Dog Hobble to beautify your landscape all year round. Each leaf on this native evergreen swirls together pink, white, and green. Fragrant flowers in the spring through early summer. So different kind of evergreen to provide some winter interest up here. Okay, the last thing we're going to put is an autumn frost hosta here. 2 black scallop Ajuga are going to go in front of it. We don't have those yet because unfortunately we sold out of them at the garden center, so I have more coming. we'll just show you those when they're finished. But this is an Autumn Frost hosta. Shadowland Autumn Frost. Gets about 12 inches tall. It's part shade to shade. It is quite shady back there. And I feel like we need something, so that's why we're putting the hosta. These proven winter tags are really tiny. So 12 inches tall, 16 when flowering, 24 inches wide. And the reason why I chose it is because I just love that kind of like blue-green middle with the chartreuse edges. So again, we will show you the finished product when we do have the 2 black scallop Ajuga and what it all turned out to look like. Okay, so when I went back to work to get the 2 black scallop Ajuga, I found that we had gotten them in gallon-sized containers, not the little quart-sized containers I was hoping for. I did purchase them, but now the ground is really, really wet because it was after a couple of days of torrential downpours. So I think we're going to wait a little bit to get the black tulip, to get the black scallop Ajuga planted here in front of that hosta. Give the ground a little bit of time to dry out. So I'll show you that as it happens. Okay, guys, I hope you enjoyed our planting. This is only the second time I think we've brought you along this season for planting, only because, as I've mentioned before, it really is difficult to plant on our property. It's just extremely, extremely rocky, and it takes 4 or 5 times longer than it would take someone on like really loamy soil. So I just don't know that there's a lot of return on investment of you watching us struggle to plant shrubs and perennials in the ground. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed. I'm going to show you a sneak peek of what we will be planting upcoming now that the heat wave is over, but the torrential rains are also over. So yes, we have gotten a lot of rain. So today is Tuesday after Memorial Day, and from Wednesday through early Memorial Day, we got a lot of rain, a couple of days torrential. So a lot of the stuff has been in the garage. We wanted to protect it from that. I didn't want any of the annuals I'm going to show you to kind of get beaten down by torrential downpours, but that will be in another video. So I'm going to give you a sneak peek. And as usual, thank you for watching. Thanks for coming along. I hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye. Stick around for that sneak peek. So just a sneak peek at the annuals that we have bought to go in the Cuprocina bed along our Dry Creek bed, where I just showed you the Rise Up Emberays rose. Out front where we typically put sun patiens. Now because these were in the garage, they lost a lot of their flowers, but these are all proven winners annuals. We have some more broalia in the back there to go up on our top retaining wall bed. Also have some tomatoes and marigolds. I have some scaevola and lantana to fill a final container. So a sneak peek of an upcoming video.